You know this day won't last forever. Move on and you'll forget. Tomorrow's packed.
Je kunt als je hierop klikt dat hele Union Square helemaal zien. Je kunt de etalages van de winkels zien, je kunt in een hotel binnengaan, je kunt de kamers van de hotels zien. En weet u wie al die foto's heeft gemaakt? Iedereen. Dat delen van kennis, dat is dus eigenlijk zo'n fenomeen wat achter deze site zit. We gaan van 2D naar 3D. We gaan van kennis bij je houden naar kennis delen. We gaan van analoog denken naar digitaal denken en digitale identiteiten. En we gaan van het leren als individu naar het leren in community.
Has done as much to make Americans happy as perhaps anyone over the last 20 years. A man who is a great personal hero of mine, someone by the name of Howard Moskowitz, who is most famous for reinventing spaghetti sauce.
This day won't last forever.
Anything below 8% sweetness is not sweet enough. Anything above 12% sweetness is too sweet. We want to know what's the sweet spot between 8 and 12. Now, if I gave you this problem to do, you would all say it's very simple. What we do is we make up a big experimental batch of Pepsi at every degree of sweetness, 8%, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, all the way up to 12. And we try this out with thousands of people, and we plot the results on a curve, and we take the most popular concentration, right? Really simple. Howard does the experiment, and he gets the data back, and he plots it on a curve, and all of a sudden he realizes it's not a nice bell curve. In fact, the data doesn't make any sense. It's a mess. It's all over the place, right? Now, most people in that business, in the world of testing food and such, are not dismayed when the data comes back a mess. They think, well, you know, figuring out what people think about cola is not that easy. You know, maybe we made an error somewhere along the way. You know, let's just make an educated guess, and they simply point and they go for 10%, right in the middle. Howard is not so easily placated. Howard is a man of a certain degree of intellectual standards, and this was not good enough for him, and this question bedeviled him for years. And he would think it through and say, what was wrong? Why could we not make sense of this experiment with Diet Pepsi? And one day he was sitting in a diner in White Plains about to go, trying to dream up some work for Nescafe. And suddenly, like a bolt of lightning, the answer came to him. And that is that when they analyzed the Diet Pepsi data, they were asking the wrong question. They were looking for the perfect Pepsi, and they should have been looking for the perfect Pepsi.
This day won't last forever.
I'm Andrew Mercer, and I'm a musician, and I teach music over the internet. My students are sort of scattered throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. They're high school students, and the course I teach the students is called Experience in Music 2200. My father's a fiddle player, and I grew up with music around the house. I went to university and studied violin and became a teacher. And then when I got into the school system, I saw the internet as a means to provide more opportunities for people. This course provides the students in rural communities who don't have music teachers, or maybe I'm doing, and new teaching techniques into what I'm doing to try to enhance the learning process, and in turn give the students a much more compelling experience. Every day the students are using technologies on the net that are becoming second nature to them. It's their environment, it's their world, it's an online generation. Technologies like MSN, and YouTube and Pixo and these kinds of things are things that students are using on a daily basis. It's just part of their everyday routine. Now, Pixo is a place where students can build their own websites. It's very kid-oriented, where the development tools are very, very simple to use. The learning curves are very low. We use that as well in my course. The sites that we use for the course, for the students to get their information and to, share their thoughts, that's all Pixo. So when the students go into our environment, our online environment for our course, they look around and say, well, this is what I use every day. I have my own Pixo site. You know, my friends have their Pixo sites, you know. So we're in their environment. I try to put news feeds in on the website so they can coming into their web space. So when they visit the Pixo site, they're seeing these pieces of news about their own artists that they enjoy. So there are many, many pieces of online technology too. And if we have outcomes that we want to achieve, we need to figure a way to get those outcomes that come from the music that they're listening to. An example, if we're talking about minimalist music, like Philip Glass, Steve Reich, in a traditional, like say, what we would call a classical background, you would think about the 20th century composers, Steve Reich and Philip Glass, as being minimalist composers. But really, the students listen to Daft Punk. Daft Punk is, in my opinion, a very minimalist group. But they're playing modern, techno, electronic dance music. But it's very minimalist and very well done. So, if I'm talking about minimalist music, why go to something the students have never heard, can't relate to on the first day? Why not go to Daft Punk and say, well, here's minimalist music. And after you listen to some of it and they start to realize what that minimalist music is, then you could say, you know who else is minimalist? Philip Glass and Steve Reich. And they go, oh, you know, that sounds a lot like Daft Punk. And I like...
Docent bij de faculteit Rechten bereidt een cursus voor die past binnen de Capita Selecta Criminologie. Uitgangspunt is dat de studenten samenwerken in een community of learners. Het resultaat van dit gesprek wordt door de medewerker van het onderwijscentrum als het ware gemodelleerd in een SharePoint teamsite. Dit betekent dat de juiste componenten uit de standaard toolbox van SharePoint op de juiste manier worden ingezet. Dit levert een teamsite op die voor het merendeel van de taken in de juiste functies voorziet, maar flexibel genoeg is om tijdens het gebruik nog te worden aangepast en uitgebreid. Hier is het resultaat. Een homepagina die als toegangspoort dient voor de cursus. Centraal staat de opdracht en een korte uitleg van de fasering van deze leergang. Daaromheen staat de ondersteunende informatie. Aan de linkerkant 2 rubrieken. Links naar het onderhanden zijnde werk en daaronder de links naar de projectinformatie. De tabs aan de bovenkant verwijzen naar enkele veelgebruikte stukjes informatie. Aan de rechterkant een afbeelding uit Google Maps, uiteraard volledig functioneel. Daaronder informatie over de deelnemers aan deze cursus en een linklist naar relevante websites. Een voorbeeld van de ondersteunende informatie. Onder Project Support staat bijvoorbeeld Contacts. Hierop klikken levert een lijst van de deelnemende studenten en andere betrokkenen. De gegevens in deze lijst kan door de deelnemers zelf worden aangepast. Een ander voorbeeld is de link Support Links. Hierop klikken brengt je bij de Wiki Support pagina, hetgeen uiteraard ook weer een SharePoint teamsite van het onderwijscentrum is. Terug naar de digitale leer- en werkomgeving van deze leergang. Een belangrijk onderdeel hier voor het schrijven van teksten. We klikken op Wikilib en zien de titels van de door de studenten gemaakte wikipagina's. Als voorbeeld nemen we deze pagina. Niet specifiek voor SharePoint, maar een algemene eigenschap van wikis is dat je de ontstaansgeschiedenis kunt zien. We klikken op History en we zien dat deze tekst aan zijn 10e revisie is.